Hey guys, I'm Jake. I want to talk to you today about steel, specifically high carbon steel and ADCRV2. I have been hearing a lot of talk about steel selection lately, not only because of some of Joe X's testing, but also, I don't know, everybody's just doing a whole lot of yammering lately, and I wanted to make a few things clear here, especially when it came to ADCRV2. You see 1084, ADCRV2, 15N20, 8670, these are some of my favorite steels, but not for lack of experience. As you probably know, if you're familiar with my channel, I've done a considerable amount of testing and outright abuse on all kinds of steels, from LMAX to Magna Cut, plenty of 3V, etc. And I still enjoy high carbon steels. So there are a few things, if you take away nothing else from this video, that I would like for you, the viewer, to understand. First off, any knife and any knife steel can be ruined. So a knife in the most basic 1095 with the most basic heat treat can vastly outperform any ultra mega steel, be it Z-Finite or Z-Tough or Magna Cut or anything else, Rex 121, if the heat treat on the superior steel is ruined. Just because you got a knife in a steel that has a potential to perform better does not mean that you got a better knife. The other thing that I would like for you to know is that edge geometry cuts and edge geometry provides toughness. So I've been harping on behind the edge thickness recently. To some degree, I have oversimplified behind the edge thickness to make it easier for people to understand the direction that we are going in here. But if you have a very, very thin knife, it is going to cut better longer than a very, very thick knife. A good example of that, I had a Hinder XM18. And I was not happy with its performance as compared to a very cheap Buck 840 Plus, because the edge, it was CPM 20 CV, the edge was far thicker than the Buck with 420 HC steel that was far softer, but the Buck cut better, and it cut better longer because the edge geometry was better. Also with toughness, we have seen some of the best knives tested by Joe X, even large knives, to have vastly thick edges and or heavily convex edges. I believe the Work Tough Gear Aries has an edge of about 78 thou. That is a thick, thick boy. So it really probably doesn't matter if that knife is 1095 or LMAX or something else. You have so much mass behind the edge that it is very unlikely to have a failure. That is also the reason why companies that are not totally comfortable with their own heat treat protocols and don't want to do warranties all the time rely on thicker edges. Okay, less likely to fail even if you screw it up. All right, so the blade steel debate is a debate for people who do not use knives enough, primarily. And recently I've had someone complaining that the TRC Apocalypse is an inferior knife with a poor heat treat based on Joe X's testing. I do not believe that Joe X's testing showed a poor heat treat. LMAX is a steel with a relatively lower toughness, but with good corrosion resistance and pretty good edge geometry, or edge holding. And the TRC Apocalypse is a knife that is 26 thou behind the edge. So if you beat it on a pole or something else, it's going to break eventually. That doesn't take away validity necessarily in and of itself from what he did. That is context to what you saw him do. And recently we had some knife reviewer talking about how ADCRV2 no longer has any place in the industry. What's silly about this is I just said that bickering about steels is for people who don't use knives enough. However, We've got all kinds of people arguing about whether to get your information from ABS Smiths or this or that or the other source, and bickering online. And the par for where you get your information from right now is Dr. Len Thomas over at Knife Steel Nerds, who designed MagnaCut. Oh, Dixie, you escaped. I'm Dixie. Good night. Stop. Go. Give me some space, you beast. Anyways, Dr. Len Thomas actually scientifically tests this stuff. So unless you are a maker who is perfectly heat treating, really has a precise heat treat, and you can show with scientific data that you disagree with Len Thomas, then shut up. ADCRV2 is a steel with phenomenal performance and toughness and edge holding, especially compared to many other high carbon steels. And one of the benefits to high carbon steels is the ability for the regular guy to heat treat them with minimum resources. So if you like having a vast variety of custom knives from small custom makers, then you should probably have an appreciation for high carbon steels. With that being said, there is no steel in the industry used on knives with toughness that rates up with 8670 or 15N20 as tested by Dr. Len Thomas. You have like a 20% increase over CPM 3V. You have at least a 10% increase, I believe it is, over Z-Tough. And so we're sitting here listening to influencers who play with 4-inch knives, opening packages or cutting vegetables, talking about how these knives no longer have a place in the industry, when the toughness difference between 15N20 or 8670 and MagnaCut is literally like a 35% difference. You guys are absolutely ignorant. Dixie, you're getting your hair all over my brand new hoodie that I'm supposed to be taking pictures of. Dex, leave her alone. You're annoying, and nobody wants to hear it. So, guys, I will say that I think that 01 and 1095 have had their time. Okay? With that being said, I will take an ESEE over a lot of other options because the designs are good, the company has good quality control, acceptable fit and finish, amazing customer support, great availability, and great prices. Doggone it, guys. Doggone it. The chances of you getting an ESEE that's completely ruined, as per the number of knives that they put out, are very low. The other thing to consider, I have broken these knives in 1095, and it is really, really, really difficult. So if you are saying that a knife is trash because Joe X tested it and broke it, what you need to understand is the reality is, as long as you are using a decent steel from a decent maker, neither knife is going to break. You should be looking more into the manufacturer's reputation for quality than you are spending looking and researching at steels. But if neither knife is going to break, then value is going to be determined by things other than toughness. Toughness also is oversimplified because some steels that can handle a huge torsional load capacity cannot handle shock necessarily, or might not have good edge stability. There are actually toughness, elasticity, these things are actually a lot more complicated than a simple number on a chart. However, be that as it may, guys, if you take nothing else, edge geometry cuts, edge geometry dictates toughness, and quality in manufacturing, consistency and quality control are far more valuable than the $20 per knife potential difference in the cost of the materials. And also the difference in what it takes to do a good heat treat. Because if it's really easy to heat treat one steel and really hard to heat treat another steel, or requires more to heat treat another steel, you have a higher chance of that other steel being messed up It costs you more money to heat treat that steel, and it also costs you more money to pay more attention to each knife that is being heat treated. We're looking at exponential cost increases. There you go. Please get out, get training, use your stuff. Go down to Randall's Adventure Training. It's not too expensive. It could actually change your life. Take advanced bushcraft. I took it with my wife. You don't have to be a stud to go in there and to have a great time and learn a lot. And if you are a stud, you can still go down there, have a great time, and learn a lot, guys. Use your doggone knives and stop forming opinions based on what you read in forums. And to wrap this up, just because you heat treat knives does not mean you are a valid source for heat treat information. Nobody cares that you heat treat knives. In Nepal, people that don't wear shoes heat treat knives over an oven. Do they do it great? No, but they're out there heat treat. Not necessarily. I want to amend that. Not necessarily. Do they know a whole lot about how the heat treat works? No. So clearly, the fact that you can do a heat treat does not make you a reputable source for heat treat information, guys. Freaking just go over to Knife Steel Nerds at least to form these opinions. And guys, get off, I don't know, get off the EDC forums or something like that because this is just silly.